Hey everyone, Chris here. I am doing something for the first time this week, so bear with me. It's going to be a bit clunky. I'm also going to try to have this be a template. You can tell me what you like, what you don't like, what's helpful, what's not. Um, yeah, so thank you for coming in and watching this video. This might be a little wonky. Just fair warning. First thing I wanted to do was a 1 minute kind of meditation demonstration. So if we were in class together right now, I would ask to do a check-in and just see how everybody's at. But since we're not in the space together, what I thought I would do is demonstrate each time we get together or each time I do one of these lecture videos, I would go ahead and do a little check-in that you can do yourself as like a solo. Um, I have an app on my phone called Insight Timer. And so I have set it for 1 minute and it's going to feel like a very long time. But if you can bear with me, you're going to hear a bell that starts like this. I hope you can hear that. And then at the end of that minute, there will be another bell. And during that time, if you just want to kind of be in your body, like just kind of find your seat if you're sitting or if you're laying down, moving around, whatever point of view is contacting the floor or the chair, whatever's getting that gravity right now. Let's go ahead and start with that. So here we go. And I'm going to be quiet this whole minute. Alrighty. There you go. That was 1 minute. How did that feel? Was that weird? Was that helpful? What I can do is I can do a little bit of something to begin each session with our us together. Um, Something a little bit different each time with stuff that I kind of use in my work. And yeah, that way you've got some tools for you. So general reminders, I wanted to let you know, in case you hadn't seen the announcement or the information that I posted, I have, just based on some feedback I got from the minute papers, I went ahead and assigned partners for the rest of the semester. Just for the exercise check-ins, like the weekly, like partner ones, if there is one that week. And then for the bigger assignments, just to kind of eliminate any questions there as to like, how do we do the thing? If you already have an assigned partner, feel free to email me. This is my cat, Neshima. Say hi, Nesh. And uh, I can get that updated if you already have an assigned partner. That way, I also have a list of who's partnered with whom. I do have 3 dates up for the optional synchronous Zoom meetings. Right now, they're all happening Mondays, one this month, one in October, and one in November. They're all happening at 6 p.m. Your time, so 8 p.m. my time. And the link is in there. It's under the course information section. So if you want to check those out, let me know if you have questions or if you would like me to offer different times for each as opposed to at 6 p.m. each time. They are pretty informal. It's going to be just talking about the assignments, any questions you have, and then we'll go from there. Um, and then yeah, I'm working on a how to do the video ant thing. So this point forward, I'm hoping that y'all will engage with the video ant by adding an annotation. I will try to get that done soon so I can have that up under the course information as well. I'll let you know when that's up. So this lecture, I wanted to go back with some information from your week 2 and week 3 minute papers that I've read so far, and the communications that y'all have been sending my way as far as what you're hoping to work on or what you have questions about still. And then I just wanted to touch on the therapeutic relationships, like fear versus facts, right? Psychotherapy outcomes, like, what the data shows is actually the influence that we have in the room. And then, essentially kind of touching base on what we do have the influence over in that room. Sorry, my cat is being very needy right now. So self-care, I wanted to start out by talking about self-care a little bit. I know we talked about maybe doing more like community care or, how's your workplace, or your internship, or, who are your who's your community of support. Um, Something that I personally felt very strongly about when I was going through this program was that there was not a good like delineation between like neurotypical self-care, which I feel like has been very, very much appropriated by capitalism for people to make money. Like it's not just, take a bubble bath and drink some wine. Like, all the social work jokes are about like drinking alcohol and like burning out. I think neurodiverse individuals, such as myself, self-care can be particularly difficult, especially since, some of the stuff that might actually be calming and helpful is not what the norm would be. Like, taking yourself out to dinner or hanging out with a large group of friends or trying something new or taking a bubble bath and drinking wine. Um, I wanted to offer up, you have the ability of making a self-care box for yourself as a student and a human right now. Um, when I was in school, I made myself a self-care box that just had my favorite DVDs in it. And so it had like a comfy pair of socks that I would only wear when I was, when I needed the box. And so just like whatever is comforting for you, if there's a particular tea or coffee or drink that you like, that you can, stash some of the powder or the tea bag in your self-care box. Or if there is, a stuffed animal or like a toy or, a fidget spinner or something sensory that you like just, touching or something. Um, that could go in your care box. Just wanted to offer that up and just acknowledge that self-care looks different for individuals and also that it shouldn't be necessarily like solely the responsibility of the individual, if that makes sense. Self-regulation, I wanted to touch on this as well. What are some things that you do when you're stressed out? Like for me, I bite my nails. I also, I like play with my hair a lot. You might have noticed. Um, I tense my jaw and my neck. Um, so just as far as like self-care goes, trying to figure out those things that are common that your body just reacts to and you know, trying to pick up on those things and starting to give yourself interventions there. Um, that might be something to take note of during this program in particular. Your nervous system is also unique. So, for me with ADHD, I like sound. Sound helps me focus. So I will have a TV show on in the background. I will have music, what have you. Some folks need silence to help their nervous system calm down. Some people like to get up and moving and like, some people do Zumba still. And jazzercise, like awesome. If that's what works for you, go for it. But some people need to like do like the minute mindfulness check-in that we did at the beginning of the session. Some people need stillness and quiet or stillness and sound. So it's all valid, right? Like that's mainly what I'm trying to say. And like you can be as creative and unique in your approach to self-care as you need to make it accessible and relevant to you, is essentially what I'm trying to get at. I also wanted to reiterate in the group discussion from a while back, I mentioned that trauma stewardship, an everyday guide to caring for self while caring for others. Actually, I think Dr. Perry recommended this book to me when I was in the program, and I didn't read it while I was in the program because how can you read anything when you're doing the weekly readings on top of living your life and everything? But I read it when I was struggling working in hospice for a bit. There was just a time when we were starting to shift towards productivity measures and those kinds of things. And so this book was really like a game changer for me. And I ended up buying a whole bunch of used copies to just hand out to my coworkers because it was like, you know, oh, and this is me trying to keep it short. So closing out a session, I want to, it seemed like this was kind of, when y'all were practicing, this was kind of the hard point. Um, I tend to have a clock in front of me where I can easily see the time, and time tends to fly by pretty quickly. So what I tend to do is, you know, no matter kind of where we're at, I'll be like, "Oh, I just looked at the time, and I want to acknowledge that that we're coming to an end here." Um, Another way to do it is to set a timer, like kind of like the insight timer that I had. Something that's not going to be like, or like crazy, alarming, but like a soft sound for like 50 minutes for the session or 45 minutes so that and just explain what you're doing with the folks that are in front of you, just like, hey, I'm setting this timer for 45 minutes, it'll go off, and that'll just indicate to us that we need to start wrapping up and talking about what we're doing next. So when you start to close out the session, it's important to kind of summarize what happened. So like, hey, so I know when you came in here, you were first feeling like really dysregulated, and you were really upset about what your partner told you. Uh, I just wanted to check in and reiterate, how are you feeling now? Okay, so we're feeling a little bit more in our bodies, and that's good. Um, we discussed XYZ. We talked about you trying out this intervention that we think might work. And you're going to go ahead and do that as homework, try that out a few times. And then we'll touch base next session. When is good for you? Is this same time and day next week good for you? Or would you like to switch it up? Um, yeah. So that's kind of how I wrap up session. Um, you know it can be super simple, and if it feels awkward and weird, just being genuine and acknowledging that fact in the moment is probably the best way to go. Like, this is super weird, but I've got another client coming in, and I wanted to go ahead and kind of wrap us up for now. Is there anything else you need to talk about, or anything else I should know before I let you go here? Yeah, people tend to respond positively when we show up authentically as ourselves. Cool. So diving into the actual lecture now, and I'm almost at time. Uh, the therapeutic relationship. So this is a like a pie chart that shows psychotherapy outcomes. Like, this is what the data shows us. Extra therapeutic change makes up about, I want to say, 60% of the total pie chart here. No, not 60%, 40%, because if it was 60%, it would be more than half. I'm not good at math, and that is why I decided to be a social worker and not a researcher. But, so about 40% extra therapeutic change, that is everything that happens outside of the therapy session. Like, somebody gets a new job, or they get their first place that they've had on their own and they feel really proud, or those kinds of things, or stuff that happens outside of the therapy room. Common factors we're going to touch on in the next slide. But this is stuff that like basically happens in every therapy session, or every encounter, or has the possibility to happen in every encounter that someone has with like a therapist or a social worker. only about 15% of the outcome of psychotherapy is actually due to the technique that we utilize in the room. And then 15% is about expectancy. So expectancy is like, it's kind of like the placebo effect, but like if you go into therapy thinking that it's going to help, or that it might help, then you are more likely to have a positive outcome. And I get that I didn't do the percentages right here because that does not add up to 100%. I will go back in and share these slides and actually write the numbers in, because I thought they would show up, but they didn't. Sorry. So common factors are like just the therapeutic relationship. Mitigation of social isolation. So we're not sitting at home alone. It's like, hey, there you are. I can talk to you about something. Like this is literally what this is for. Installation of hope, readiness for change, uh, patient engagement and resources activation. So being able to get people connected to resources they need. Effective experiencing and effective catharsis. So being able to model, behaviors or feelings, or help somebody get to that point of having a realization. Problem confrontation, like, what's going on? We talked about how you wanted to get a new job, and we're sitting here and it's been 6 months and you've not even applied anywhere yet. What's going on? I would hope that I would talk about that more than like sooner than 6 months in, but you get what I'm saying. And then corrective emotional experience. So, again, modeling like emotional experiences and giving freedom for folks to engage, without judgment. So again, these may be present no matter the length of the encounter or who's involved. So if it's a family, if it's a person, if it's a couple, if it's an organization, and also it doesn't matter what type of work it is. So it doesn't matter if this is one-on-one therapy or if this is, case management. It doesn't matter if this is like psychoeducation. These are the common themes that are present. So what we can influence, and I stole 4 of these from Dr. Perry, but the last one is me. um, we have kind of influence, and these are like the high level, like most important things. There's about 5 things that we have control over: being present, holding on to hope, getting out of the way, leaning into discomfort, and remaining curious. So we're human, we're imperfect. This presentation is not what I would have done, were I not just trying to push myself to just do it and not try to make it perfect. We get distracted, stuff comes up in our personal lives, and that's normal. Like, of course, like, the thing that happened to me, my father-in-law had to have heart surgery. And so that was what happened at the beginning of this semester. Um, the best way to like help yourself in those moments, but even before then, is to try to make a plan to take care of yourself before, during, and after your sessions, your meetings, your tasks, and just periodically check in and be like, is this working or is it not, and adjust. I need to be better about that myself with my new job. Like I'm kind of flailing a little bit and I'm finding it, but it's taking some time. And so I'm having to give myself some grace and try to plan my breaks and plan my food and plan my, all of it and how it all fits together. Holding on to hope. So stuff that you might hear when people come into therapy for the first time. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I'm not where I thought I'd be in my life. I'm ashamed. I don't understand, or I can't understand. So, Dr. Perry said at one point, if somebody comes in and they are basically expressing this, which is like, I'm hopeless, I feel hopeless, I don't have a reason to try anymore. I don't, the fact that they're coming in is a positive thing, but holding on to hope means that, like, what Dr. Perry said here in this quote. I believe that you will make it through this, and I will hold on to that belief until you are ready to take it. So this space that we create here, I've got it. I've got hope that you will make it through this. And until you can see that for yourself, until you experience that for yourself, that's okay. I've got it. Um, Getting out of the way. So we need to release judgment of ourselves and others. Keep in mind that the client's thinking, for the most part, makes sense to them. So if you're trying to address like a thought process or something, it's much better to come at it or to try to put on their lens of understanding or their lens of seeing the world or the problem or the situation, because to them it makes sense, or else they wouldn't have done it, right? Like, um, people in situations are super complex. Like, this is why we talk about culturally responsive care. We want to make sure that we can be present with people in the moment and understand our own biases and our own identities and how they interact with others. Um, and that way, like, we can be present with people fully, in the work that they do, with us during that time. If you show up as your authentic professional self, that's the little asterisk there, you invite others to show up as their authentic selves. And I think more than anything, that in the therapeutic relationship is what folks need and are seeking. Just somebody to witness them and to not judge them. Um, let go of your agenda. So if you're going into a session and you think, oh man, this person's got XYZ, if they're just showing up and kind of going through some stuff, like, let them go through some stuff, right? Like, we're mandated by our profession to constantly assess for our own biases and also to be lifelong learners. I don't know about y'all, but the reason I chose social work over becoming like a psychologist was because of the NASW Code of Ethics, which I felt like that's me. Like, somebody took my insights and just wrote wrote it out, like how I feel about stuff. Um, but also because we're mandated to learn throughout our professions, throughout our careers, because we all know this stuff is changing all the time. And it's so cool to me that that is something that, you know, when we sign up for this, it's expected, you know? Leaning into discomfort. This is probably the hardest one. Um, Humans, especially those of us in America, at least, who were socially raised as female, uh, tend to avoid conflict, disagreement, setting boundaries, specifically stating or verbalizing our needs or asking for support. So one of the big things I've learned as an adult and just a person, but also especially in social work, is the thing that you've been avoiding, the thing that you're like, no, thank you. No, 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 no. Um, that's the thing that's going to teach you the most, more often than not. So ask yourself what you've been avoiding in this program or your internship or in social work. Like, are there any of the code of ethics, points that like feel icky to you or that feel a little like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine, but um, that's part of the reason I wanted to teach, because this kind of terrifies me. Um, but that's how I knew I needed to do it, because if we can't be uncomfortable with our own situations, and be able to, you know, get to the other side of that, um, how are we going to help our clients get through those times in their lives, you know? Um, our goal as social workers is to lean into discomfort so that it doesn't have power over us or our clients. I can tell you what's worse than getting it wrong is not trying, right? I would rather land flat on my face, egg everything on my face, and learn from it publicly. Like, I would rather fail publicly as long as everybody's on the same page about learning from my mistake. Um, I would so much rather do that than to just never try anything, you know? Um, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Uh, remaining curious. This is my addition to the 4 points that Perry had made, Dr. Perry. We need to be curious about ourselves. Who am I? That big existential question. How do my intersectional identities, how does my privilege, how does my the identities where I am in a minority or I am oppressed, socially, how does that influence my work and who I am at work? How do I show up for my clients? How do I want to show up for my clients? Where's that gap? And how do I get there? What's the barrier there? What are my strengths? I think just in general, social workers, we don't do this very well. What are my strengths? What am I good at? Where can I improve? You know, what am I avoiding? What makes me uncomfortable? And what am I doing to address that so that I don't have this become a problem in the work that I'm doing with the folks that I'm working with? We need to remain curious about others. So one of the things that I really like a lot, one of the modalities is narrative therapy. So how I would phrase this is, what's the story that this person or this family or this organization is telling themselves about what's happening? Um, what's that narrative? What is the thing that is going through their head that is saying, I have to be this way, or I should be at this point in my life? Um, and just kind of starting to slowly, peel away where that came from, and maybe to try to start figuring out, well, what do we want that narrative to be and how do we get there? We got to be curious about the world around us. What's happening in my neighborhood? Who are my neighbors? What's happening in America? How do I feel about that? How is that impacting my work day to day? I mean, we all went through COVID. It's still it's still in the air. It's not like it ended. Um, how do we support each other? Where do I need to set up a boundary and say, no, I can't help with that? And then, the whole thing about social work, right? Being a person in the environment. It's how do all of these things adapt, evolve, and influence each other to form that person in their environment, right? Like, it's also not just a person and environment. It could be an organization in an environment, It could be a family in an environment, right? So these ideas have, like, they just ripple out, no matter what, micro, meso, macro. Um, I was gonna try to keep this short for y'all. I apologize. Maybe I'll try breaking up the video into 2 videos next time so that you can get them in chunks. I want to, take time to address common themes that come up in questions I'm getting, or in particular, like with the minute papers, if there's anything coming up where it's like, huh, or I think it might be useful for the group to kind of just keep thinking about. Um, Thank you again for your patience with me as I'm getting things up to speed. Hopefully, this was not like super bonkers. um, yeah, y'all are doing amazing work. I know you're probably still getting your feet under you as far as this semester goes, but just know that you're not alone. Your peers are with you. I'm with you. Um, there are lots of great resources in the school too, if you're needing some support as well. Okay. Um, I hope y'all are well. Please comment on this video at some point. It can even be like, what are you doing? Or your cat is very cute, because yes, I know, but we can all be reminded of that. And yeah, I'll try to get a few of these videos out. Okay, thanks so much.